today, Elon Musk is set to visit the CIA to start discussing how they can bring more efficiency to the department. But Will, I think what we need to make sure people are clear about is this CIA, we're now months into a Trump administration CIA. They're welcoming in DOGE. It's not like you think of it like a raid. This is not a raid. These are cordial now. These are an organization. Sure, no one wants to see jobs get cut. But you even had John Ratcliffe saying that he's coming in, and I'm sure he's happy to meet with him.
That's right. John Ratcliffe, who is the director of the CIA, actually early in the administration said, I would like to see the DOGE team come to the CIA. He even did something similar with the buyout of staff at CIA to lower the workforce or give early retirement to individuals. I think that what you're going to see with this is another attempt by the media, though, to make this seem like something really nefarious is happening. You're going to see them say, how dare they allow Elon Musk, an unelected not bureaucrat, just unelected individual, even though the only person in the executive branch that is elected directly is the president of the United States and his running mate, the vice president. But pay that no mind.
But they're treat you like you're stupid and don't know that.
And they're going to have access to every secret of America. And then Elon Musk is going to sell that out to China. And it's going to be terrible. This is the end of the road here. He's going to go start doxing all of the undercover CIA agents. No, they're going to go in there. They're going to talk about efficiency. And I think carrying over from our conversation on Friday, where you saw those very serious principles of DOGE talking about what their work actually is. Yeah, I think every single government agency needs a little bit of a taste of that to make sure that we're not just wasting money here and there. I think this is going to be one of the harder lifts for the DOGE team, because I think a lot of money is probably not directly enumerated in the budget of the CIA, but I think it is a good move, and we'll see what comes out of it.
There's a lot of talk about the defunding and whether what's good, what's bad. I was in LA over the weekend. I went to see a stage show, like a Broadway style show. At the end of the play, they came out and the cast did and said, hey, funding for Broadway Cares and AIDS research is under attack right now, and it's a very unsettling time. So if you can give, please consider giving. And give right now. We're going to have buckets that's going to get passed around like a church to donate to this. And I thought, exactly, this is how it's supposed to be. Do you care about the funding of AIDS research, or do you care about the funding of Broadway Cares and everything they're doing? Great. Make your donation. Put your money where your mouth is. You all just spent $150 to $250 on a ticket to see this play. This is how we are supposed to do charity. This is how we're supposed to do church. This is how the country works, which are when there are those specialty things and the government's not taking more of your money, you are able to make these kind of donations, support the kind of things that you care about, as a lot of us do. We don't rely on the federal government to give us that money. I'm not someone who's saying we need to go and cut everything. I think that there are some really great causes that the U.S. government does work with, that does great humanitarian aid. But what I really wish is that the American people would actually stick up for those organizations and not rely on the federal government to handle charity.
That's right. And to some degree, that's how the big government mentality has been able to creep, is that there are the ability to then start going and funding NGOs, which is almost comical to think that some of these non-government organizations would not exist or do not exist without government funding. So they should be quasi-government organizations, not non-government organizations. But the oversight breaks down at that point when you're looking at it from that perspective as well, because then your taxpayer dollars are going to a third party that is not government, that is not subject to the oversight and the checks and balances of our government. But the real work, and I think where, as we mentioned on Friday, that the DOGE team should have done that style interview earlier to really get to the bottom of, these are the types of things we want to look at, the systems within government, the way that our government operates, whether it be Social Security to the retirement program within the government to even now the CIA. Are there things we can get in there and find ways that we're operating that are stuck in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s and bring that up to modern standards for a host of reasons. One, to make it more secure, to make it go quicker, to save money. So when they talk about things like Social Security, that they want to find $300 billion or something that within Social Security, they're not talking about cutting $300 billion of benefit to the Social Security recipient. They're talking about how expensive it is to run that bureaucracy. When you're talking about 40% of the incoming calls being from people trying to commit fraud, when you talk about the way that things are handled on paper still, how it takes 9 months to retire someone from the government. Those are things that if they can be done quicker and more efficiently, save money. You don't have to spend that money of taxpayers to go in and do it this old way. And that's where you look at the CIA. I don't think, as the media is going to try to declare, that this is all of a sudden he's going to go in, he's going to start line iteming undercover agents to fire when they're talking about, computer systems that don't even communicate with each other. So a Small Business Administration may ping the Social Security to see if a Social Security number is real, but it doesn't have any sort of check like, oh, this person that's trying to get a loan is 9 months old. So that kind of fraud is happening. Or you look at the systems internally where they're so redundant and it's costing hundreds of millions of dollars to prop up dated technology. And then Elon Musk says we could not pass an audit if we were a company, the United States government. We would fail an audit and we would be insolvent if we don't do this work. Those are very real terms that are scary when you think about the future of the country if it continues this spiral into more and more debt, less and less control over our own house's finance here in the United States, and that people will then hear one thing and run and protest a car dealership or vandalize another person's property. That's not rational. This isn't a world that we ever expected to be in, where a government initiative to try and restore the financial safety of the United States and get it back on track is met with terroristic activity to the level that we're seeing from those on the far left that think it is okay to firebomb a car dealership.
Yeah, I kind of go back to sort of the big push for BDS coming from Ben and Jerry's and a few of these other things. We were saying, yeah, don't eat their food. Don't eat their ice cream. You know what? Don't support them if you feel like you don't agree with their policies, or do, and you know what? You just realize that's what you're living with. In America, we got a bunch of different points of view. But no way were we saying, hey, go take out Ben and Jerry. On my birthday, I want you to do that. Find Ben and Jerry. That's not the way we roll.